It's finally time to go racing for MotoE. After a red flagged and postponed race one, hopefully this time things will go a little bit smoother. The twists and turns of the gorgeous Mugello lay in wait, and so does the next chapter of the 2024 championship chase. Who will prevail in the Tuscan mid-afternoon? It's about time we found out. It's go time for MotoE. Hello and welcome then, and let's try this again, shall we? Hopefully this time we will have no drama as we go racing in the MotoE class for the first time today. And in case you missed it, earlier on we did unfortunately have a red flag incident with the luckless Lucas Tulovic crashing out at the final corner on the very first lap. We're pleased to report that Lucas Tulovic is largely okay. He's in hospital, under observation, having checks done. So he's in the best hands possible to be able to be taken care of, as we do know, by the excellent medical staff that we do have here at the local hospitals. So it's Jack Gorst here in the commentary box. Alongside me, as ever, is Neil Morrison. And down in pit lane, it is our pit lane reporter, Fran Wild, who is on the grid. And I'm sure at some point we will be able to pass down to Fran. But for now, Neil, hopefully this time we just have a nice and no incidents race and have a good race out there for race one.
Yep, absolutely. So it's quite a bizarre schedule that we have for the rest of the day. Obviously, we couldn't fit a restarted race one in after the red flag earlier. And this is going to be race two. And then we're going to have a rerun of race one over full distance later on today at 6:40 local time. So we will be doing both races, and you can see there get well soon message for Lucas from Hector Garzo, who will be starting from second on the grid now. And well, a little update on the schedule and how things have panned out today. We're going to pass down to Fran.
Hello, yes, I interrupted you very quickly in your ear. But just to say, just had a very quick update from the MotoE Executive Director, Nicolas Goubert. Just to explain, in case anyone has any questions, and you were with us for the broadcast earlier, obviously we did do a little bit of racing on one set of tyres. So they're all on new slicks for this one, but then in race one, which is actually the second race that will take place today, it will be the same tyres that they were on in the first start or first attempt at race one earlier on, with the exception of Kevin Manfredi, as he had crashed out of that one. Just a little bit of housekeeping info there for everyone who's ahead of the game and really knows what's been going on today.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Fran. Interesting then for race one, which will take place later. It's slightly confusing, I know. Probably the first time in history, Jack, that race one is going to take place after race two, and quite possibly the latest Grand Prix start I think that we'll ever have in history at 6:40 local time.
Yeah, as everyone is rushing out of the circuit to go for dinner, myself and Neil and also Fran will still be here providing you coverage for race one, which is the second race of the day anyway. You'll get used to it, it'll all be fine. But anyway, speaking of the race coming up, of course Lucas Tulovic unfortunately is not out there, so it does mean that the front row is slightly different. Of course, Hector Garzo now moves into the middle of the front row, and completing the front row is now Eric Granado as well. So a little bit of a leg up for Eric, the Brazilian on the number 51 LCR bike. So yeah, a clean run for him down to turn one, which certainly will be a welcome addition for him.
Yes, absolutely. It means that this rider, Kevin Zanoni, will start from 5th rather than 6th. The championship leader, of course, now looking to come through from the middle of the second row and fight for victory again, just as he did twice last Saturday.
So I believe we can pass down to Fran, who is with Lucio Cecchinoa.
I am indeed. So Lucia said, I don't want to disturb your riders at the moment. Eric looks like he's really in the groove now on the front row. What have you made of the MotoE season so far? Obviously Eric on the podium last time out after a very tougher start to the season by his standards. And Mattia, an incredible run so far. What do you make of it as the boss? It's going well.
Yes, of course we are happy with the results. Of course, it's a category that is very tough because there are a bunch of riders. I mean, at least 6 riders that can win easily races and perhaps can win the championships. So it's very, very important to keep going on and taking points every single races. We have calculated so far that the leader has taken like an average of 16 points per race. So what we said to our riders, please remind that it's very important to stay within the top 4.
Exactly. Well, best of luck for this one, Lucio, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fran. Thanks as well to Lucio Cecchinello. His 2 riders will be starting from 3rd and 4th on the grid for both of today's races. Then Matteo Ferrari, he's been promoted to 7th from 8th, where he qualified yesterday. Obviously Tulovic will not be starting either of today's races, but better that is from Matteo Ferrari. And actually when the red flags came out, he was up inside a podium position earlier today, so that bodes well, I think, for these 2 contests that are still to come.
Yeah, got a little bit of the spring back in his step, shall we say, as we see there part of the fan club with a big banner. A pretty good banner, that one, indeed. Yeah, and more than happy with the progress that Matteo Ferrari has made this weekend, returning to the form we know he has.
Yeah, Pollo and Friends. Does he run a chicken shop or something? Just curious.
Maybe competing with Aaron Canet for a little burger joint or something.
Quite possibly, yeah. And it was a decent day yesterday for his teammate Alessio Finello. He'll be starting from 8th on the grid after qualifying 9th. Good stuff from the Italian at his home race, as we prepare then for the start of race 2. High tension in the air as we attempt to do this again.
Yeah, this one, of course, an important race for the championship, as we are now really in the meat of the MotoE season here in 2024. Who will take charge in race 1, or the first race of here in Mugello? We're about to find out. Okay, so let's have a look at the grid, shall we? As there is one small minor change. Unfortunately, Lukas Tulovic is out of this one, but it is still Alessandro Zacconi on pole position, who had a really bright start in that first red-flagged race. He'll be looking to do the same. And Hector Garza moves up to 2nd with Eric Granado there. And Mattia Casadei heads up a stellar 2nd row of the grid. Matteo Ferrari is 7th, with Alessio Finello now promoted from a career best 9th to 8th, so it gets even better for the number 72. And Andrea Mantovani moves into his likeness for the number 9. Jordi Torres and Oscar Gutierrez, they've got one less position to make up, but they do still start way down from 13th and 14th on the 5th row of the grid. A lot of work to do for 2 very fast riders here in MotoE.
Yeah, we will have to keep our eyes peeled then towards the back of the grid for this one. 2 big hitters, as Jack just said, coming through from row 5, Torres and Gutierrez. And last year's dry race winner, Andrea Mantovani, he'll be coming through from the back of the 3rd row. He's been promoted to 9th on the grid, so Mantovani not one to rule out off the podium charge just yet. Yeah,
Manto with his best qualifying of the season here, even though he didn't manage to take part in that Q2 session yesterday after that crash in Q1. And as Neil does say, won the first race here last year and did it with a spectacular move at turn 1 as well, going from 3rd to 1st on the final lap, rather Dovi 2019-esque. A fantastic move from Mantovani, and I'm sure he'll be looking to conjure up a few more of those, as he's got 8 riders to overtake if he wants to do it again.
Yeah, this rider here, Mikel Pons, will be seeking a similar start that he had in race 1 earlier today, when he was up amongst the top 3-4 riders when the red flag came out. Pons will be coming through from 10th on the grid. And I guess as we enter in to the final minute before the race starts, we have to do our predictions as usual, and I think I'm going to go with Jack first. Who are you saying?
Well, I went Zanoni for the first race, so I'll stick with my choice and see if he can do a little bit better on the first lap than he did in that shortened red flag race.
How about you, friend?
I think after what we saw in the first couple of laps of attempt 1, I'm going to go for Zacconi for sure this time and beat you to it.
Okay, nicely done, Fran. Getting in there first. I'm going to go with Casadei, because he was also looking pretty good at the start of race 1 before that red flag. Jumped up to 2nd, so coming through from the 2nd row again. Let's see what the world champion can do.
So Fran stealing Neil's thunder. Can anyone steal Zacconi's thunder as he starts on pole position here? Reminder, no warm-up lap at all. We're going to be racing in just a couple of seconds' time. Who will get get the whole shot, the long run down to turn 1. We are go, and once again it looks as though Alessandro Zacconi has got a perfect launch off a pole position, and look at that. Oh, actually Hector Garzo might be getting the straighter run down to turn 1, but the number 21, the championship leader of Zanoni, sweeps around the outside to lead as they go through turn 1. Fantastic start from Zanoni, up from 5th to 1st already.
And I think Casadei's going to steal the lead going into turn 2. No, he doesn't quite manage it. Zacconi then has managed to drop 2 positions in the first couple of corners, but he's back under Casadei. Oh, and there's contact coming through turn number 3. Fantastically close racing at the start of this run.
That could have been almost disaster there for both of them, in fact, Zacconi and Casadei. But as it is, we do make our way through the first sector, all safe and sound for now. That is fantastic to see, and it'll be fantastic for Zanoni to see the clear track in front of him, because that is one hell of a start. He's done it again. We saw him in Barcelona in both races go from 8th to 2nd, well, this time 5th to 1st. The whole shot for Zanoni.
Yeah, brilliant start as well from Massimo Roccoli, who's up into 7th place from 11th on the grid. 4th place improvement from the Italian. Decent start as well from Oscar Gutierrez, who's currently 11th.
Just about to point him out, yeah, made up 3 positions at number 99. We know that he can make manoeuvres quite easily in this World Championship, and he's already making some of them. I think he was looking up the inside of Finello. Actually, Finello's teammate, Matteo Ferrari's had a disaster. Dropped from 7th to 12th. Exactly not what he wanted off the line.
Yeah, and a similarly tough start in the first couple of corners for Hector Garzo, who dropped from 2nd down to 6th. So the Spaniard has it all to do and is already in danger of losing this front pack. The front 4 just starting to break clear.
So Piccini comes into view for the first time here in the first race of the day for MotoE, and it looks as though Zanoni is going to lead them round it and into it, but is he going to lead out of it? Casadei is right on his heels. He'll be tucking into the slipstream now as we come onto this extremely long Mugello straight up over the rise, and look at them, it's slipstream city now. Who's going to get the best bubble of them all? I think Zanoni's going to lead it over the line, but I'm not sure he's going to lead it into turn 1 as here comes Casadei, who goes to the outside, and I think he's going to get that one done on the brakes, or is he? Zanoni holds him off and just covers the inside line for now.
It takes a brave rider to outbrake Mattia Casadei, especially down into San Donato, one of the heaviest braking zones on the entire calendar. Quite surprised that they pretty much remained as they were, coming into the corner and going out. Super impressed by Massimo Roccoli holding his own in 7th, comfortably the best we've seen of the Italian since he stepped into the MotoE class this year. He's joined onto the back of this lead group of 6.
Yeah, absolutely great to see Roccoli a little bit more sprightly this time here in Mugello. Of course, in practice 1 yesterday morning he had a really fine start when conditions were a little bit iffy, so definitely lots and lots of experience around this Mugello circuit for Roccoli, and that looks like it's paying off for him right now as you see the veteran, the old super sport runner, doing a real good job here in the first race.
Yeah, Matteo Ferrari didn't enjoy the best first lap. He's been shuffled back a couple of positions into 10th. The number 11 not having much joy here on the first lap, unless in contrast to the first race that we had earlier. And there comes Granado down into Scarperia. That's 3rd place for the Brazilian.
Yeah, Zacconi's going to try hang it around the outside, but just too deep in the first part of the high-speed chicane there. So Granado up into 3rd, and we've seen Eric look extremely... Oh, wow, I thought Spinelli was going to... Oh, he is going to go for a move up the inside of his teammate. He's going to turn it tight, extremely tight, hug the white line, and that's a lovely move then from Spinelli, taking advantage of Zacconi getting a little bit upset and out of his rhythm by Granado going through. Spinelli to 4th.
Oh, and look at that from Alessandro Zacconi. He's going to make another move coming into Piccini. Is he on his teammate? Needs to be careful just into there. Zacconi has been beaten up, and he'll be a little frustrated because he enjoyed such a dream getaway earlier on today in race 1 before the red flag came out. But he's obviously gotten beaten up a little bit in the first couple of laps here. Still 5 laps to go as they cross the line for the 3rd time, and Kevin Sinoni leads once again.
So who's set the fastest lap of the race? It is Spinelli. Oh no, it's actually Ferrari in 10th. So after that bit of a disaster of a first lap, he's got a wriggle on now.
Granado.
Has the number, the 11, and Granado straight up the inside of Spinelli. Look like, yes it is. Oh, fantastic work holding him off as they come round the exit of San Donato. Is he going to fight back? Oh. Yes he is. Lovely switchback manoeuvre, an absolute classic that one for Spinelli. Great stuff, back up into 3rd.
Yeah, great stuff from Spinelli. He's able to cut really tight lines through Correntaro and then into turn 3 there, and the first left-right chicane. That is given the top 2 then, and Casadei has managed to get through on Kevin Zanoni for the lead, and as you can see, the top 2 starting to edge clear here. 0.4 they have now on Spinelli in 3rd.
So here's a look back to Alessio Finello, who's that's not Matteo Ferrari on the screens, that was Finello. Matteo Ferrari is just a little bit further ahead. as it's really close in this pack there. And Roccoli definitely looking like he's trying to get a bit of a manoeuvre on Eric Granado, who gets loose in the middle of the Arrabbiatas, but thankfully still on board his machine, as now Mantovani's also having a look, defending he is from Hector Garzo, and does manage to pick him off. Great stuff from Mantovani.
Yeah, Garzo having a proper bloody nose in these open in exchanges. Mantovani, the latest to come past him. Decent recovery ride then from the Italian as this race goes on. You can see that Spinelli is, I think, the danger rider on track as he kind of hones in on the front two. He's managed to get that gap down to Zanoni to 0.3 of a second as it stands, and you can see Alessandro Zacconi has also got past Eric Granado, who's struggling.
Oh, Massimo Roccoli looking to the inside, going into the final corner. Bicini on Granado, but no room yet for the number 55. Great job, though, it has to be said, up in 6th. This would be his best result by some way. So across the line then to complete lap 3, and it is the reigning world champion that's going to lead him. But look at the slipstream that Zanoni's got. We know he was incredibly fast on the straight in Barcelona, and it's translated perfectly to here as well, as once again he hits the front, Zanoni. So the championship leader is back on top.
He certainly is. Good stuff from Spinelli as well. The fastest lap of the race last time around. He was a 1/10 of a second faster than Mattia Casadei up ahead. You can see he is joined on the back of the top two. It is now very much a three-way fight at the front. Eric Granado has managed to get himself back into 4th place. Alessandro Zacconi looks as though he's being assaulted from Roccoli and Mantovani just behind.
Oh my lord, Spinelli took the front and he managed to hold it up. Unbelievable. It must have been tucked for about 30 or 40 metres. That is one hell of a save from Spinelli, but that has unravelled his race somewhat, because now he's going to be, what's he going to be, around about 1.5 seconds off the lead that Zanoni. More Roccoli dives to the inside at the Arrabbiatas. There you go, there's a lesson from the veteran to the youngster. But look at this save as we come down into, what is it, it's Matarassi, who's going to tuck the front here on the apex, digs his knee in and somehow picks it up. These bikes weigh 225 kilos once the front folds. Generally, that is all she wrote, but somehow Spinelli has saved that one. Awesome stuff from Nicholas.
Yeah, we see that occasionally in MotoGP, Moto2, but not in MotoE. Fantastic stuff from Spinelli, and it shows that he has lightning fast reactions to react to whatever is happening on track. He then has well, gone back 2 positions. Look at this from Massimo Roccoli, who's up into 4th position. This is an inspired ride from the rookie. We haven't seen anything close to this kind of performance so far this year. Roccoli could well be on for a home podium.
Yeah, if Roccoli could get on a home podium, that will certainly please the 658 squad, and definitely Paolo Simoncelli, who was not too best pleased back in Barcelona with some of the efforts of his team. But Roccoli, here he comes then, in the slipstream of the number 51 Eric Granado, and is he going to get him by the line? I believe he is. So Roccoli up into a podium position for the first time in MotoE, and doing an absolutely fantastic job, showing that age is just a number.
Exactly, but Granado toughs it out on the brakes down into San Donato, retakes that place. Roccoli was actually the fastest rider on track last time around. He was a couple of tenths quicker than the lead pair, and this fight for 3rd, is just 8 tenths back of the opening 2, so they're not exactly out of it just yet.
It's complete chaos in this pack, isn't it? I don't think any of them have taken the same line yet around any of these single turns. So moves going in left, right and centre, and definitely you'd hope that some of this would calm down, because a few of them will be wanting to make a little bit of progress and not be caught up too much in this battling and squabbling that we do see, as that looked like it was going to be a brave move down into Savelli for Mantovani, but no room at the end for now. Hector Garzo does hold on just in front of the number 9.
And I'm wondering if Mattia Casadei is just struggling to run this pace of Kevin Zanoni at the moment. He was 3 tenths slower than his compatriot on the last lap, and you can see that Zanoni has managed to put another 1/10 of a second in as they are halfway round at this lap. That looks like Spinelli looking to move under Roccoli. In fact, it's Alessandro Zacconi who's got ahead of his teammate, so Zacconi then making a bit of a late push here in the closing laps.
Yeah, good stuff then from Zacconi. He'll be frustrated being in 4th position after starting on pole, but definitely 4th position isn't so bad. We've seen some strange results in the 2024 MotoE World Championship so far, so if he can keep getting some of these top 5s, that will do just lovely. Although he does have a track limits warning, actually a bunch of them do as well, as now we see Hector Garzo dive to the inside of Bicini. That one's not going to work. He might even lose 2 positions now as Mantovani turns it under him. Yes, he does, but Garzo going to hang it around the outside. Oh, he needs to be careful there, because he did go onto the green on the outside at the final corner. The stewards won't be too happy with that one, but for now he does get away with it, as he's not on any warning just yet.
Yeah, and ignore what I was saying about Mattia Casadei possibly struggling to run the leader's pace, because he's managed to lower his lap time right back down, and Zanoni's lead is pretty much obliterated back to nothing.
So here we go then. It looks as though the closing stages of this race might be a two-rider dogfight at the front. We thought that maybe Eric might close in, but so far not quite happening for the Brazilian.
Yeah, it's not, and Spinelli's having a bit of a nightmare back in that fight for third. He's been shuffled all the way back to 8th, so the rider that was up fighting with these lead two a couple of laps ago has had a bit of a mare in the last couple of laps, and Spinelli, this is not good for his championship, all the way back in 8th.
No, especially not because the top two in the championship are in those top two positions. Whoa, that was close from Zacconi. Roccoli wipes his nose going down through Casanova. Oh, wow, that was again close. All these moves coming in. I keep holding my breath thinking one of them's going to dive for the inside, but so far all holding stations as it is for now. Hector Garzo with a track limits warning as well, so he needs to be careful too.
Yeah, 5 riders now on a track limits warning, which means they must be careful unless they want to get a long lap penalty on this final lap. You can see Zacconi spinning it up, coming out down towards Corantayo in 5th position. It's almost like we have 2 and then 2 and then 3 as they fight for 1st, 3rd and 5th, but Zacconi's trying to get on the back of Massimo Roccoli in that fight for 3rd. You can see Casadei is right there with Kevin Zanoni as they come out of the Biondetti chicane, and it looks as though this is going to be a two-way fight going into the final lap.
Yeah, Zanoni had just a little bit of a slide coming out of Biondetti. It's been all quite gentlemanly at the front of this race between these two, but coming into the last lap, you feel like the gloves will be off as we do start the last lap now. Can Kevin Zanoni go back-to-back in terms of victories in 2024? Well, it's like London buses. You wait for one forever and suddenly 2 come along at once. But Mattia Casadei is going to have something to say about that, and the reigning world champion moves past the championship leader. Is he going to get it stopped? He does not. He goes wide, and once again the lead changes hands. We go up into Luco for turn 2. And wow, Spinelli's gone in a little bit deep. Zanoni, I beg my pardon. And Casadei once again has a chance to fight back as we now go down into the second fast chicane.
Brilliant racing and brilliant stuff from Kevin Zanoni, who isn't refusing to give Casadei an inch up at the front, reacting as soon as Casadei makes a play to go through. He is clearly confident that he can stretch out ever so slightly through this in section.
So where will Casadei build to put the manoeuvre in on Kevin Zanoni? There's a few places coming up. You'd have to think that if he was close enough, Arrabbiata 1 could have been an option, but no, not close enough this time round. Surely, if he is there, he'll have a look down into Scarperia. We're building up to that now. It is the very next corner. He's got a little bit of a drive on him, but Zanoni, it has to be said, he's done expertly on this final lap. Just look behind, it's absolute chaos as Mantovani dives to the inside. Does he get 1 or 2? I'm not quite sure. I think he just got 1, but Mantovani making big moves on the final lap as Eric Granado still heads up that leading pack, but it is all going to be about the last 2 corners for the leading duo.
It is indeed, and Casadei has been super strong through the Biondetti chicane through the last couple of laps. Can he build sufficient momentum through these left-right flick onto the back straight before we get to Pacini? You can see Zanoni is going for a defensive line. It looks as though the 21 may just have done enough.
Casadei hasn't won since the opening round. Zanoni's in wide, but he's looking for the late apex to get the sweep onto the front straight, and that might be enough. The slipstream effect has been massive, but Zanoni's been incredibly quick on the straight, and it looks as though the number 21 is going to go back-to-back wins in the MotoE World Championship in 24. Oh, and who got third? Who was it? Oh, Granado just pinched it from Roccoli on the line. So the veteran of the 658 Squadron Course team just misses out, but he still does pick up a personal best result in the MotoE World Championship. Awesome job from Roccoli, but what about that ride from Kevin Zanoni? He's certainly cool, calm and collected under pressure, and he's even set the airbag off as well with the celebrations over the line.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Zanoni, who did manage to post his personal best lap of the race on the final lap as he was reacting to that incessant pressure from Mattia Casadei. He could not let up for one moment on that final circuit, but he managed to remain completely calm all the way around. And how about that? A second success in succession in this class for Zanoni. Brilliant stuff for the championship leader.
Yeah, great stuff then. Casadei certainly gave him everything there, just communicating with Roccoli to see which position he did get. Unfortunately, it was 4th rather than 3rd for Massimo, but certainly a much brighter performance there from the veteran here in the MotoE World Championship.
I think we need to see a complete rerun of that final lap, but just looking at the battle for third, because some of the moves going through Arrabbiata 1, Arrabbiata 2, and then into Scarperia. I think it was 5 riders basically going for the same bit of tarmac into the downhill turn 10. Pretty ridiculous stuff, but Eric Granado somehow managed to get the better of the others for a valuable third place for the Brazilian, his second podium finish of the year, and that was timely after his crash out of the lead, of course, in Barcelona just 7 days ago. Great racing.
Yeah, fantastic racing. And just to put into perspective how chaotic that last lap must have been in the battle for third. The first two, Zanoni and Casadei, were both in the 55s in that lap, a 55.8 and a 55.9 on the final lap. And then everyone in that battle for third was in the 57s. So, yeah, a real slow lap as they absolutely slogged it out all the way to the finish line, throwing in moves at every single opportunity, I presume. But, yeah, we'll have to get some onboards of that one or some track feed to be able to see exactly what went on. And I'm sure Eric will have quite a tale to tell with exactly what happened there as well.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to his part for my interview with Fran, which will be coming up in a few minutes' time. But Kevin Zanoni, I don't think many of us were tipping him to be just as strong as this in the last couple of races. I certainly wasn't. He hasn't shown championship form really in the last couple of years, but we've seen him in MotoE, but he really has taken a massive step up, completely at home as well in that open bank Aspar team. And there is no better feeling than winning in front of a home crowd at the Italian Grand Prix at Mugello, one of the greatest tracks in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, has to be said. Of course, the other rider that picked up their debut win, or maiden win last time in Barcelona, was Oscar Gutierrez. You just saw him riding through the back of shot there, just shaking out his left arm, perhaps maybe some arm pump or something there, maybe just a small niggling injury for Oscar. We're not too sure, we'll have to ask him about that one, but definitely not what Oscar wanted. After starting in 14th position, only managed top 10 at the end there.
Yeah, and a great result for both Zanoni and Casadei, the top two in the championship, because Oscar Gutierrez, third in the championship, just 2 points off the lead coming into this race. Obviously down in 10th, scoring just 6 points. So Gutierrez losing big ground in that race to his two principal challengers.
Yeah, and Spinelli as well, in the end, ended up at the back of that big pack for third place, way down in 9th. So not what Nicola Spinelli would have wanted at all. And lots of work to do now in the championship as he loses big points as well.
Yeah, you have to imagine that Spinelli was suffering from, I'm not sure, was it front tyre wear? He had that huge front end moment, obviously going into turn 4, Materazzi, midway through that race. At one point it was looking as though he was going to be the rider most likely to fight with Kevin Zanoni up front, but after that moment he really wasn't able to regather his speed and his momentum. And yeah, 9th place, not quite so good. At least he's managed to get some points on the board in a race that he hasn't won this year, if you're trying to find a positive in that result. Yeah. But Kevin Zanoni, a popular figure, rode here many years ago as a Moto3 wildcard. Never quite worked out for him in the junior Grand Prix category, but he's come into MotoE and made a proper name for himself. And in this form, you would not bet against him going all the way and taking the title at Misano when this MotoE World Championship concludes in September.
Yeah, absolutely not. Of course, still only 23 years of age, so if he can keep putting in performances like this year, a long career ahead of him in whatever he decides to do. Of course, the ultimate goal for him will be surely to end up in MotoGP one day, but you'd argue that the next best step for him will be to try and squeeze himself a Moto2 ride, and if he can keep winning races like he's just started doing, well, definitely he might put himself in the picture to sneak one of them.
Yeah, only one half of that Aspar garage then will be happy. Jordi Torres had a tough old race in 12th, but we're talking about seriously fine margins here, Jack. I say he had a tough race. He was 5 seconds off the victory, and he was in 12th. So the racing was quite akin to Moto3, really, here at Mugello. Not necessarily surprising, I guess, when everyone is on pretty much the same machinery.
Well, it's even worse for Torres in a sense of just how agonising it is in terms of how close, because he only 2.2 off third place, or 2.4, yeah, 2.4 off, I'll get the maths right on that one, Neil. But yeah, 2.4 off third place, and you finish way down in 12th. Yeah, Bit of a head scratcher, really.
Yeah, get your head around that one. Well, we're just getting our breath back up here in the commentary box. That certainly was a very entertaining race 2, in no part because Eric Granado thrilled us with his ride to the podium. He's down in Parc Fermé with Fran.
Eric, it was a pretty incredible fight to complete the podium. Once the two ahead of you just made that gap, but you held on, took that 3rd place, back on the rostrum again. Are you happy with that?
Yes, I'm very happy. It was a crazy race. In the first lap I was not in the best position, and when I was catching the group, always someone overtaking me and we fight in the first 2 or 3 corners, so always I lose a little bit the position with the top 2. So yes, like every lap I was fighting in the first 2 or 3 corners, and then I tried to catch them, but it was not possible. So yes, it was a big fight with Roccoli. He's a local, he knows for sure special points here on the track. He's a legend here on the track, so I'm happy that I could be back on the podium, and I will do my best also again in the race to be here again and enjoy the really nice day we have here. So yes, thank you to the team, 2 riders in the Parc Fermé, so this is amazing.
Congrats.
Obrigado, galera. Vamos para a próxima. Valeu.
Even I could understand that he's coming back for the next one. Here is that. Is this the run on the final lap? I think it is. Look how close it was. Roccoli having to properly get out of a slipstream, and even a bit of elbows coming out for Eric Granado. Was that on the final lap? I think it was. Eric just managing to get back ahead. That's how close it was. Pretty much a photo finish, and that is what 11 thousandths of a second looks like at the end of a MotoE race here at Mugello.
I think Massimo was even looking over at him, just going, ah, damn, you beat me to it. But yeah, great battle between the two of them on the way to the line. Some vintage World Supersport mid-2000s tactics there from Massimo Roccoli on the way as well. Great stuff from both of them. But of course for Eric, 2 podiums in the last 2 rounds. And Mattia Casadei back on the podium as well after a disappointing Barcelona round. He's down with Fran.
So Mattia, some points went begging in Barcelona, and after you'd been still pretty quick there, but this weekend back on the pace again, but more importantly as well, back on the podium. 20 points is a good haul today, is it not?
Yeah, good. Good, I'm happy. We do a good race. I do a very good braking in Turn 1, but I go a little bit wide and Kevin overtake me again. But after there is another opportunity, for sure I try to do my best and see what happens.
And we'll see in race 2. You've got another chance. Well, race 1.
Race 1. we recover race 1. I try in race 1.
Yes, you heard that right. That was race 2, and race 1 is going to come up later today in about 2 hours' time. You will not want to miss it if you caught that race just there. Great stuff from Casadei, and a good way for him to bounce back after that disappointing crash in Barcelona 7 days ago. Well, at one point he thought it was going to be Spinelli that he was fighting for the championship. It could well be another Italian, the one with whom he was scrapping just now. And I think we're about to hear from the victor, the double victor now in the MotoE World Championship, and a rider who has a 6-point advantage in the World Championship. It's Kevin Zannoni, and he's in Parc Fermé with Fran.
Well, Kevin, again, you waited a little time for your first podium, then your first win. Now you've taken 2. You've extended a championship lead. You had another great start in that one. Is there anything you could do better?
Well, better than this, I don't know, but I'm super happy. Win at home is incredible. Win in front of my fan, of my family, of the people who come to see this race in Mugello. Wow, I don't expect this race because all the riders was very strong, and with this long strength, it's always a group of race, but I push very hard from the beginning. I want to push and try to do the group the minimum possible, and I try and I do, so I'm super happy. And last lap was only push. First race was perfect, so I need to concentrate for the second and try to repeat this.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Fran, and thanks to Kevin Zannoni, who will be aiming for a first ever MotoE double later on this evening. This was the critical moment down in San Donato on that final lap. It looked as though Mattia Casadei had gained the crucial advantage, but you can see he just ran in ever so hot, and ever the opportunist. Kevin Zanoni was on his inside, ready to take full advantage of that.
So that's 2 races, 2 turn 1 moves on the final lap as well, and 2 victories for Kevin Zanoni. Expertly done, certainly knows how to keep his head cool under pressure. And that's no mean feat against Mattia Casadei, who's also a chilly customer out there on the circuit. But there you go, streaking home by a handful of bike lengths in the end. It almost looked comfortable, but we can assure you it probably didn't feel very comfortable out there with the reigning world champion and hounding him on that final lap. There's a lovely bit of interaction between the teammates. I'm sure Geordie, even though he's congratulating him, just a little bit jealous to see Kevin up there winning in what we thought would be kind of the races that Geordie Torres would be fighting for victory himself. So 2 on the bounce then for Zanoni. If he does win later in race 1, the second race of the day, that would match the winning streak, the record for it. I love Mugello. I have to agree with that one. Mugello is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think you can find any rider in any Grand Prix class that would disagree with that. As we see another replay, Casadei, he'll be kicking himself, won't he? Because he just went in a little bit hot, got it a bit crossed up, and at that point I think Zanoni knew there would be space for him on his compatriots inside. And Casadei just wasn't able to find another place to react. He had a go, had a look here, but Zanoni just closed the door coming through Bacchini. And that was all she wrote, as they say, in this game. One name that I think will be a little upset with how this race played out will be the pole sitter, Alessandro Zacconi, who looked as though he was capable of escaping in race 1 and doing his own race completely up at the front. Shuffled back to 6th in the end.
Yeah, it kind of all went wrong immediately, really. He got a good jump off the line, but once again, Zanoni just proving that for some reason, whether it's just his weight or how he gets tucked in behind the bubble on that Ducati V21L, extremely fast in the acceleration zones, and just powered his way through from 5th on the grid to 1st by the first corner. And then, yeah, for Zacconi, just got a little bit beaten up, pushed back, and then we all know that that big battle from 3rd to 9th was just total chaos. And yeah, 6th place in the end, after earlier today, leading by a good half a second at the end of the first lap. So, work to do for Zacconi as he regroups for the second race of the day in, as we say, just about 2 hours' time, so make sure you don't miss that one. But for now, let's bring out the podium riders, shall we? And for the second time in 2024, we can welcome Eric Granado to the podium. Lovely to see Eric back on the podium and regularly contesting at the top here after such a heavy accident last year in Barcelona. We saw the emotion last time out. This one I'm sure won't hit quite as hard, but definitely he'll still be just as happy. And Mattia Casadei, a solid 2nd place for him. Really needed that after a difficult weekend in Barcelona last time. But it certainly wasn't a difficult weekend in Barcelona for Kevin Zanoni, and it's definitely not a difficult weekend here either. Finally a winner last time, and once again he's done it here in the first race of the day.
Marco Luca then hands out the 3rd place trophy to Eric Granado. As Jack just said, the 2nd time he's been on the podium, and a real achievement that after a big old crash in Barcelona just 7 days ago. Pietro Calgano hands out the 2nd place trophy to Mattia Casadei. Casadei, that's his 5th podium of the season so far. He is a podium hound. And then Cristina Bombesse gives the winner's trophy to Kevin Zanoni, top of the podium for the 2nd race in succession. And now, how about this, the Italian national anthem to be played at home in front of his home crowd.
So for the second time in Kevin Zannoni's MotoE career, the Italian national anthem is played for him. Atop the podium there. Careful, chaps, come on, we've got to wear those levers again in just a couple of hours' time. One poor mechanic's got to go clean all the sticky Prosecco off them. But yeah, well-deserved podium places for all three of them. They've been fantastic recently. And we'll get to see them do battle in just a couple of hours' time again as we do round out the midway point of the 2024 season. So Kevin Zannoni wins by just over 2/10 in the end from Mattia Casadei. And look behind that. Look how close it all is, from 3rd down to 8th, even down to 9th and 10th, it has to be said. Eric Granado just pips Massimo Roccoli by just over 100th of a second to a podium. But Roccoli still picks up a personal best 4th in the electric class. So great job to the veteran there. Oscar Gutierrez will be disappointed with 10th. Always knew it was going to be a little bit of a tricky weekend for him here, as he turned up with not much experience of this place. The last time he'd been here was a decade ago in Red Bull Rookies. So yeah, a tricky one for him to learn it. But 6 points is Kevin Zannoni's advantage as we head into the second race of the day here in Mugello. Mattia Casadei right there with Oscar Gutierrez 21 back, and now Nicola Spinelli going from 13 to 31 points behind. Jordi Torres completes the top 10, now 63 points adrift. With just one race to go before we do complete the first 8 races of the season. Definitely not what we expected from the number 81. In terms of the team's championship, it is the LCR-E team who have just pipped Open Bank Aspar team to take over the top of the team championship. Only 3 points. It looks like that fight will rumble on for the rest of the season. You can guarantee it, particularly if Zannoni keeps throwing in these wins. Tech 3E racing there in 3rd, and Axis MSI in their first year in MotoE doing a fine job there in 4th place with Gutierrez and Pons dragging in the points for them. So here we go then. Here are the highlights.
Well, it was an all-action start off the line here at Mugello with Alessandro Zacconi starting from pole position. But just as he did twice in Barcelona, Kevin Zannoni getting a fantastic jump from a bit further back on the grid. He led the way into turn 1, and somehow everyone just about managed to get through. Mattia Casadei going around the outside there, you can see. And it was pretty fast and frenetic racing from there. The two Italians were gradually just eking out a bit of an advantage up front. Eric Granado taking a place from Nicola Spinelli at turn 1, and Zacconi meanwhile was taken 5th at San Donato, and there was Zannoni going underneath Casadei, retaking the lead. It looked at this point like it could be a 3-way fight as Nicola Spinelli joined the lead too, but he then had this massive front end slide coming through turn number 4, and that very much halted his progress. Eric Granado pouncing on him. From there it was a 2-way fight for victory, and a 9-rider fight for 3rd at some points. Massimo Roccoli was having his best ever ride in MotoE, but Kevin Zannoni managed to just hold on the final lap despite Mattia Casadei's close attentions, and he held on for a 2nd victory in succession. That was it then for MotoE Race 2 here at Mugello, and strangely we've got Race 1 still to come. That's coming up at 6:40 local time. On the basis of that, you will not want to miss it. Until later, see you then.